They tied his hands. They stuffed a dirty cloth in his mouth. And as the blind billionaire was dragged into the thick bush along the Lekki-Ipe expressway, he heard the same voice that used to laugh with him every morning. It was his cousin. "End him tonight," the voice said coldly. "Make it look like an accident. He's useless now anyway." That was the last thing he heard before the gun was cocked behind his head. But what happened next? Nobody expected it. Not the killers, not the cousin, not even him. Before the accident, Nathan Adams had it all. A mansion in Lekki Phase 1 that looked like a mini palace, luxury cars lined up like trophies, and a bank account with so many zeros that even he couldn't count it all. He was young, brilliant, and fresh out of university in the United Kingdom, top of his class in business and finance. Lagos elites called him the Golden Boy of Lekki. His parents, Mr. and Mrs. Adams, were the founders of Adams Empire Holdings, one of the biggest real estate companies in Nigeria. Their story was one of humble beginnings turned generational wealth. But wealth, as sweet as it can also be cruel. It was a rainy Sunday evening. Nathan had just returned from a charity event in Victoria Island with his parents. They were laughing in the car, his mum talking about planting a garden, his dad joking about finally retiring. They never saw the trailer coming. It crashed into them at a reckless speed near Aja. The entire SUV flipped twice before slamming into a wall. When Nathan woke up 2 days later in a hospital bed, he couldn't see anything. Just darkness. He called out for his mum. Silence. He reached for his father's hand. Nothing. The nurse finally told him the truth. "Mr. Nathan, you're lucky to be alive, but your parents, they didn't make it. And I'm sorry, sir. The accident affected your eyes. You're blind now." Nathan froze. Everything felt like a bad dream, but it wasn't. In one moment, his entire world collapsed. And this was just the beginning. The days that followed were a blur of darkness, quiet whispers, and shallow pity. Nathan Adams sat in his hospital bed, surrounded by doctors who sounded nervous, lawyers who sounded greedy, and relatives who sounded too eager to help. But the person who visited the most was Daniel, Nathan's only cousin. Daniel spoke with the voice of a saint. "Bro, I'm here for you," he said one morning, placing a gentle hand on Nathan's shoulder. "You might be blind now, but you're not alone." Nathan smiled faintly. He needed that. His parents were gone. He had no siblings. Daniel was like a brother. But what he couldn't see was the smirk Daniel gave the nurse as he walked out. A smirk that said, "Everything is falling into place." You see, Daniel was never truly family. His mother had once borrowed money from Nathan's father to survive. Nathan's parents took him in like a son. They even paid his school fees. But Daniel wanted more, and he wasn't planning to wait for it. Back home, Nathan was adjusting to his new world of blindness. Simple things like brushing his teeth, dressing up, or finding the bathroom became daily battles. But he was determined. He got a guide. He learned to use his fingers to read, count money, and even write again with special tools. It was frustrating, but it gave him purpose. And that's when she showed up. Melissa. Soft voice, sweet perfume, perfect timing. Daniel introduced her as a friend from church. "She really wants to help you heal," Daniel said. Melissa placed a soft hand in Nathan's. "You're not alone, Nathan. I'll be your eyes." But what Nathan didn't know was this. Melissa wasn't Daniel's friend. She was his girlfriend. And together,
They had a plan to finish what the accident started. You're still here, and that means a lot. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, African Folktales with Auntie. Your support helps us keep bringing powerful African stories like this to life. Melissa was the kind of woman that turned heads in any room. Tall, elegant, soft-spoken, but her heart, ice cold. Every smile she gave Nathan was fake. Every hug rehearsed. Every "I care about you" was a line from the script she and Daniel had written months ago. Their plan was simple: gain Nathan's trust, get access to his accounts, poison him, and inherit everything. Melissa played her role perfectly. She visited Nathan every morning, bringing him his favorite food, adjusting his pillows, even reading out loud from his father's old journals. Nathan, still learning how to live without sight, was deeply grateful. "I don't know what I'd do without you," he told her one night. Melissa kissed his forehead and whispered, "You'll never have to find out." Meanwhile, Daniel had started taking control of the Adams empire. He told the board that Nathan was emotionally unfit and recovering, so he stepped in as interim CEO. What the board didn't know was that Daniel was diverting millions into offshore accounts, throwing wild parties in Banana Island, and showering Melissa with gold and designer clothes. They thought they were winning. But what they didn't know was that Nathan had started to sense the truth. His sharp ears began picking up whispers in the hallway. A phone call Melissa forgot to end. Daniel's voice in the background of a conversation she swore was with her aunt. And then a voice note Nathan accidentally overheard while using Melissa's phone to call his driver. "He's blind, not stupid," Daniel hissed. "We need to act fast. Just poison the food already. Once he's out of the way, the empire is ours." Nathan's blood ran cold. Melissa walked in, smiling. "Are you hungry, baby?" He smiled back and nodded. But from that moment, Nathan Adams knew if he didn't escape soon, he was a dead man. Nathan knew he had to be careful. One wrong move, one wrong word, and the people pretending to care for him could snap like wolves, and he wouldn't even see it coming. So he played along. He laughed at Daniel's dry jokes. He let Melissa feed him, knowing full well she was slipping tiny white pills into his jollof rice. He flushed the food when no one was watching. He was surviving. Barely. But then one night, the plan shifted. Daniel stormed into the house in Ikoyi, pretending to be furious. "Nathan," he said loudly, "I think your bodyguard has been stealing money." Nathan frowned. "Which money?" "From your bedroom safe. We'll ask him now." Daniel's voice echoed through the house as he called two men, strangers. "These are private investigators," he lied. "They'll help get to the bottom of this." Nathan's instinct screamed. The air was thick. Something wasn't right. Minutes later, he heard the bodyguard screaming from outside. A thud. Silence. Then, a rag over Nathan's mouth. A sharp sting. Darkness. Nathan woke up inside a moving van. His hands were tied, his mouth gagged. The road was bumpy, probably the back routes of Aja heading toward Epe. He heard one voice say, "Na the blind billionaire be this. It go shock you, say na his own cousin plan everything." Another man laughed, "Omo, after this job, I dey relocate go Ghana, money go choke." But one voice stayed quiet. It belonged to David, the last kidnapper sitting at the back. His face was hard, but something in his eyes softened as he looked at Nathan. He remembered. Years ago, Nathan's parents paid his daughter's full school scholarship when she almost dropped out. He owed them everything. And now, it was time to repay that debt. It was 2:13 a.m. The van stopped somewhere along a bush path near Ibeju Lekki. Nathan could hear crickets. The air was wet with night dew. His heartbeat felt louder than the forest itself. The men stepped out, arguing in hushed tones. "Let's just finish 'em now," one said. "No noise. Na big boy. If them chase us, wahala go choke." Nathan's body froze as he heard the unmistakable click of a gun being loaded. He was about to die. But then, David stepped closer. He pulled Nathan aside and whispered into his ear, "Keep quiet. I go help you. Pretend like you faint." Before Nathan could reply, David jabbed him gently in the side and he collapsed like a dead weight. The others came back. "Oh yeah, now, shoot 'em quick," one said, eager to be done. David stood over Nathan, aimed the gun, and fired into the sky. "Pow! Pow!" He shouted, "He's gone! Let's move!" They tossed Nathan's body into a ditch and vanished into the night. An hour later, when he was sure they were far gone, David returned. He dragged Nathan out of the ditch, bruised and barely conscious. "I no be Sento, but your papa and mama helped my daughter. I no fit let you die like dog," muttered. He handed Nathan a small bag of water and biscuits. "Go straight down that bush. You go see road where they lead to a small village called Majek. If them see you, they fit help." Nathan could barely speak. "Think you?" David nodded. "No talk say I help you. I no one die." And with that, David disappeared into the darkness, just like a shadow. That night, the blind billionaire wandered barefoot through bush paths, wounded and broken, but alive. And not too far ahead, fate was preparing a poor girl with healing hands and a kind heart to find him. Deborah Lane, 22 years old, lived in a crumbling one-room face-me-I-face-you building in Majek village, not far from Eleko Junction in Lagos. She didn't have much, but what she had, she shared. She was known in the village as Nurse Debbie, even though she had never entered in nursing school. She learned how to clean wounds, mix herbs, and give sponge baths from her late grandmother. Each morning, she swept the sandy compound, greeted her neighbors with a tired smile, and sat under the old mango tree beside her home to plait hair for women and children. 500 naira per head if you could pay, free if you couldn't. That morning, while sweeping leaves under the tree, she heard a strange rustling from the bush path nearby. At first, she ignored it. Could be goats or wild boys hunting rats. But then she heard something heavier. A fall. She dropped her broom. When she ran closer, her heart nearly stopped. A man, wounded, dirty, bleeding. His white shirt was torn. His feet were blistered. His eyes, they were open, but lost in darkness. He was blind. "Help," he whispered. She knelt beside him. "Oh my God, sir, who did this to you?" I don't know where I am." Deborah looked around. No one else, no noise, just her and this broken stranger. She pulled his arm around her shoulder and helped him to her room, sweating and praying all the way. By afternoon, she had cleaned his wounds, fed him warm gari and groundnut soup, and laid him on a mat near the window. "You're safe now," she said. The man whispered, "What's your name?" "Deborah." He smiled faintly. "I'm Nathan." Deborah didn't know who he was, but she would soon find out, and her life would never be the same. For the next few days, Deborah cared for Nathan like he was her own brother. She boiled hot water to clean his cuts, made soup from crayfish and ugu, and whispered calming words when he cried in his sleep. Nathan barely spoke. He often sat quietly, facing the wall, lost in thought. "How long have you been blind?" she asked gently one morning, while sponging his forehead. "Since the accident," he replied. "It took my parents too." Deborah paused, heart aching. "I'm sorry. I didn't know." "It's fine," Nathan muttered. "Everyone leaves eventually." But Deborah didn't leave. She helped him learn how to walk around the room by counting steps. She placed water cups in the same position daily so he wouldn't knock them over. And at night, she sang soft worship songs her grandmother taught her. One afternoon, she returned from the stream with water and found him trying to sweep the floor. He had knocked the bucket over and was crawling around searching for the handle. "Nathan!" she rushed over. He froze. "I'm tired of being useless. I hate depending on people." She took his hand gently. "You're not useless. You're surviving. You're learning, and I'm here for you." Nathan sat still for a while. Then he asked, "Why are you doing all this for me?" Deborah looked at him, surprised. "Because I believe God brings people together for a reason." He smiled for the first time, a real soft smile. And in that moment, though he couldn't see her, Nathan felt something stronger than sight. He felt peace. It was a Sunday morning. Nathan was seated quietly on Deborah's wooden stool, listening to the sounds of chickens in the compound and children playing in the distance. He held a folded handkerchief in his palm, the same one Deborah used to wipe his forehead the day he arrived. It still smelled like her lavender soap. Meanwhile, Deborah was at the local canteen down the road, buying akara and pap for breakfast. The small TV in the canteen crackled with news. No one paid attention, except her. And in other news, authorities are still investigating the sudden disappearance of billionaire heir Nathan Adams, who was reportedly kidnapped 2 weeks ago from his family estate in Ikoyi. The primary suspect, Mr. Daniel Adams, his cousin, has now taken over full control of Adams Empire Holdings Company. Deborah dropped her spoon. She turned to the screen. A photo flashed across. Nathan, smiling in a sharp black suit. Her eyes widened. She rushed back home. "Nathan," she said breathlessly as she entered, I saw the news." He turned his head slightly. "Which news?" You're Nathan Adams, the billionaire." Silence. He nodded slowly. "Yes, I didn't want you to treat me differently." "I wouldn't," she said softly. "But why didn't you tell anyone you were alive?" Nathan leaned back against the wall, breathing deeply. "Because the people who want me dead are still in charge. My cousin, his girlfriend. They took everything. If I show up blind and weak, they'll finish the job." Deborah's eyes filled with tears. "But they've taken enough from you. You have to fight." Nathan turned his face toward her. "What if I lose?" She took his hand, pressing it firmly against his lap. "Then lose trying. Don't let evil win." For the first time, Nathan felt something heavy in his chest lift. That night, while Nathan slept peacefully, Deborah made a quiet decision. She would help him reclaim his life, even if it meant risking her own.
The next morning, Deborah set off early. She borrowed a neighbor's old Nokia phone, used her last 500 naira to buy airtime, and made a call that would change everything. She called the one journalist she trusted, Candice, a fearless investigative reporter with a big voice on Lagos social media. By evening, a tweet had gone viral. "Breaking: missing billionaire Nathan Adams reportedly alive and hiding in Lagos outskirts. Sources say his cousin Daniel may have orchestrated his disappearance. #Justice for Nathan." Within minutes, the post exploded. Screenshots were flying, bloggers picked it up, radio stations began discussing the tweet, and just like that, the shadows began to shake. In Banana Island, Daniel and Melissa were partying with friends, drinking champagne by the pool. Then Melissa's phone buzzed. Her smile vanished. "Daniel, he's alive." "What?" She showed him the tweet. His face turned pale. "Who exposed this? We buried that boy." "You didn't," Melissa said, stepping back. "You told them to get rid of him silently. You should have followed them to make sure they did the job. You wanted it to look like he disappeared.
Now it's blowing up. Daniel grabbed his car keys. We need to find him before the police do. Meanwhile, back in Majek village, Nathan sat listening to the radio as a shaky voice read the news headline aloud. Nathan Adams may be in hiding due to betrayal from close family. Police are reopening the case. Nathan turned his head toward Deborah. "You did this?" She nodded. "It's time the world knew the truth." He felt his heart swell. "You saved my life. Again." Deborah smiled. "And I'm not done yet." The next step was dangerous, but Deborah had already made contact with Nathan's father's old lawyer, a loyal man named Mr. Cole, who had been watching everything from the shadows, waiting for proof Nathan was alive. And now, Nathan was ready to come back, blind or not. By the time Mr. Cole, the family's loyal lawyer, arrived in Majek village, Nathan was already dressed in a clean shirt and dark jeans, standing beside Deborah with a cane in one hand and quiet fire in his heart. "You've grown stronger, Nathan," Mr. Cole said, shaking his hand firmly. "Your father would be proud." "I'm ready," he replied. "It's time I remind them whose name is on the building." 2 days later, a private van picked Nathan and Deborah from a discreet location. They drove straight to Ikoyi, where Nathan's family mansion stood tall but under the wrong control. The media had already gathered at the gates. Cameras clicked. Reporters shouted, "Nathan, were you really kidnapped? Is your cousin responsible? Are you still blind?" Nathan stood calmly, wearing dark shades. "I am alive, and I'm ready to speak with the board of directors." Daniel tried to block the gates. "Nathan, you've been gone for weeks and you think you can just walk in?" Mr. Cole stepped forward, flashing a court order. "Effective immediately, Mr. Daniel Adams is suspended pending investigation into embezzlement and attempted murder." Gasps filled the air. Police officers moved in. Melissa tried to run. They caught her at the back gate. "Daniel, do something," she screamed as they handcuffed her. He just stood there, defeated, also in cuffs. Inside the boardroom, Nathan sat down for the first time in weeks. "I may be blind," he said calmly, "but I see more clearly now than ever before." He exposed bank records, voice notes, and videos Melissa had unknowingly recorded during their fake relationship. By the time he was done, every member of the board stood to their feet and applauded. "Welcome back, Mr. Adams." But Nathan didn't stop there. He set up a foundation in his parents' name and named Deborah Lane as co-director. "What? Why me?" she whispered. Nathan smiled. "Because I was lost, you found me." After taking back control of Adam's empire and ensuring Daniel and Melissa were both behind bars, Nathan needed just one more thing: hope. He wanted to see again, not just the world, but Deborah's face. So when Mr. Cole arranged for consultations with one of the best ophthalmic surgeons in London, Nathan agreed, but only on one condition. "Deborah goes with me." It was her first time on a plane. She held tightly to the seat and looked out the window like a child seeing clouds for the first time. Nathan could hear the wonder in her voice. "You okay?" he asked. "I still can't believe this is real," she whispered. He chuckled. "Neither can I." In London, after several tests, doctors confirmed something shocking. "Nathan," the lead surgeon said, "your blindness isn't permanent. The nerves weren't completely destroyed. We believe we can restore your sight." Nathan was speechless. The surgery was scheduled for the next day. Deborah sat with him the night before, gently stroking his hand. "What if I see and everything changes?" She smiled. "Then we'll change together." The surgery took 4 hours. When he opened his eyes for the first time in months, light returned in slow blurs and colors. He blinked once, twice. His heart raced. The first thing he saw clearly was her. Deborah stood at the doorway in a simple white dress, eyes filled with tears. "You're beautiful," he whispered. She laughed and wiped her face. "You're not too bad yourself, Mr. Adams." 1 week later, they flew back to Lagos, this time as partners, not patient and nurse. Nathan hosted a press conference where he told the full story: the betrayal, the plot, the kindness of a poor girl who gave him more than any wealth ever could. And then, right in front of the cameras, he held her hand. She didn't fall in love with my money. She fell in love with my brokenness and helped me become whole. The sun poured over Freedom Gardens, a quiet, hidden gem in Lekki where rows of white chairs lined a floral path. At the end stood Nathan in a navy blue tuxedo, eyes shining not just with vision but with joy. Every guest rose to their feet as soft piano music played. Then she appeared, Deborah, wearing a stunning white gown that flowed like clouds and a veil gently lifting in the wind. She looked around in awe, still adjusting to a life she never imagined for herself. Her steps were slow, graceful, unsure, yet bold. Nathan couldn't stop smiling. He had seen 1,000 beautiful things in his lifetime, but nothing compared to this. After they said their vows, each word soaked in gratitude and destiny, they faced the small crowd, made up of orphans, staff from Adam's empire, and a few close friends. Instead of a honeymoon, Nathan had a surprise. He turned to Deborah and the audience. Today, we are launching the Deborah Foundation, a safe home for street children and orphans across Lagos, with medical care, education, and protection, inspired by the girl who saved my life. Tears filled Deborah's eyes. Later that evening, under the stars, as they danced together on the rooftop of their new Victoria Island home, Nathan whispered, "Deborah, if I could go blind again just to find you, I would." She smiled, "But this time, you get to see everything we built together." The end. Thank you for watching this incredible story unfold. If it moved you, please help us tell more stories like this by subscribing to African Folktales with Auntie, turning on the notification bell, and commenting what you think about Deborah and Nathan's journey. Let your voice be heard, because your support keeps these stories alive. Until the next tale, stay inspired.